The president of the People's Patriotic Party is calling for Zimbabwe President Emerson Mnangagwa to be prosecuted by the International Criminal Court. He's accusing him of human rights violations. Now, this comes as there are claims of harassment ahead of the polls, as the country looks towards those polls in about a few, several months now. But there's been quite a lot of concern even around some of the arrests that we've also seen. Let's speak to Samuel Chasi, who's with the People's Patriotic Party and is the president there. Samuel, thank you so much for your time this evening. You want President Emerson Mnangagwa to be tried by the International Criminal Court. Why?
Yes. Firstly, there are some reforms which have not been dealt with. We came into Zimbabwe, the coup of 2017 was illegal. And secondly, after that, we've got mass genocides which have not been resolved. We had Gukuraundi in 1983. And in addition to that, the August shootings of 2018 are still yet not resolved. President Mnangagwa, former of South Africa, came to Zimbabwe to do a commission of inquiry. Up to today, there are no results. People are just being massacred in the rural areas, in towns, and now even in South Africa there's no accountability for all these people taking place. The mass genocides must come to an end. Now we've got abductions. We've got political activists who are behind prison bars with no option of being given a bail or anything. But we see those who are looting being let go. We are seeing journalists being incarcerated. There is no rule of law in Zimbabwe right now as we speak.
So I'm listening to what you're saying then, and then I wonder, is that the reason why you seek that the International Criminal Court must do this, because you appear to have lost faith in the law enforcement agencies in Zimbabwe?
Yes, we have lost the right in Zimbabwe. There's supposed to be intervention. We need President Mnangagwa to be able to come and be dialogued over these issues. The UN must be able to intervene, the ICC. If we cannot resolve these things in Zimbabwe and talk to the public or even address his counterpart, what is he going to address to the UN when he cannot mention Zimbabwean problems in SADC and all problems are always left hanging in mid-air? He needs to be questioned. They have to give him time. He also needs to defend himself. It's also his right. So he's the perpetrator of all these things. People are making appeals every day, in and out, 24/7. He's not hearing all these things. And as it's not enough, people are dying every day in Zimbabwe. No one talks about it. And we want to go to an election with all these things. So the period is long overdue. It's time for ZANU-PF to go.
What do you say then to those that say you're making these statements as the country looks ahead to the polls? It's merely just political posturing.
No, it's not political posturing. What we need there is reforms. We need reforms in Zimbabwe. Right now, we've got what we call the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. It's just making voter online opinion to find out what is coming with the people, and they're making reforms overnight. Our parliament is silent. Our Senate, that Senate was even imposed in 2008. No one wanted Senate. The budget is too much. So if we've got the political leaders, actors dialogue, who are coming in to make reforms for the government, for the people, that is not right. Any reforms in Zimbabwe, as we seek for 2023 elections, they must go through a referendum. People must be given a chance to say what they want. If they want the diaspora vote, whatever people want. If they want the Senate to be available, if whatever the people want, it must go back to the people. The people, the voice of the people is the voice of God. So what we need is reforms, electoral reforms, which go through a referendum. If there's no funding, this is where it must come in. People must vote yes or no, just the same way we repealed IPA, POSA, and other electoral acts which were not in favor of the Zimbabweans.
You say that he's failed to raise some of the issues that Zimbabwe is facing within SADC, and at the same time, in your open letter, you also say that he's failed to negotiate with his South African counterparts on, issues relating to immigration, particularly when you look at some of the permits. But there's also other issues that you're saying he's failed to raise. I'm keen then on that point to hear your response to the remarks by Health MEC in Limpopo, Dr. Poppy Ramathuba. I'm sure you've seen the video.
Yes, what the MEC director did there for South Africa, that was a violation of the Hippocratic Oath. In the first place, she was not supposed to dialogue with the patient who is on bed there. What she was supposed to do was to advise even the embassy in South Africa there of any problems that are there, or refer them to the government that this is the situation which is there. So what she did, it triggers violence. It triggers people of Operation Dudula to start attacking the Zimbabweans who are innocent there. They have nothing to do with the gross incapacitation which the government of Zimbabwe is doing. At the same time, the government of Zimbabwe, when they are seeing these things taking place, they are supposed to say to President Ramaphosa, we have a problem, our Zimbabweans are there. Don't kill them. We are able to give them at least even some funds, even $1 million US for a government which has promised, which has done deals over $1 trillion since 2017. 1 million is nothing to pay medical bills to make. So in as much as MEC wants their bills, they did it the wrong way. That's why on 26 August, we wrote a letter directly to the President Ramaphosa advising that this billing must come in. So the billing part, we sustained the decision to build the Zimbabwe government. At the same time, the Zimbabwe government, the parliamentarians are supposed to dialogue. They are supposed to discuss, like, what should we do? Not every Zimbabwean who's in South Africa wants to be there. They should be saying, let's give voluntary repatriation. At the same time, the South African government, they should uphold the UN Refugee Act. They should be giving Zimbabweans those refugee passports. When you have a refugee passport, you are allowed to work, you are allowed to do other things. You are allowed to go to school and whatever you need. So even all those Zimbabweans who are there, we need to stand up in for them. It's not the time to be killing people. President Rhodesha Mandela said we are not saints at all, unless if you think of saints as sinners. We keep on trying. It's because he was promoting peace. What we need is peace. So when it comes to those permits, it's high time that the South African government, they sat down and did what the best is there. So we have got the issue of the refugee passports, and then the normal passports, they need, and the normal visas and permits, they need to be processed at the same time, and we see who is in which category. Then those Zimbabweans who are willing to go back home, South Africa can assist with buses. We see what's going to be taking place there. And at the same time, the government of Zimbabwe should also be coming in there. So when we look at the length of the period, we're talking about gross incapacitation, where a parliament is quiet, where a senate is quiet, where the president is quiet. Then we see ministers of foreign affairs just coming to shake hands, and they're not addressing the normal life of the Zimbabweans who are there. Those Zimbabweans came not because they enjoy the situation which is at home in Zimbabwe.
All right.
No, they are suffering, and we are talking about skilled laborers and semi-skilled and unskilled. We have different categories. So the issue of permits must be addressed wisely. We must be prayerful about it. This is what we are encouraging. We are not saying political parties should always come to intervene, or journalists, but we have to be a voice. If our own government is quiet, we are resorted as the last line of defense to be able to share these views and thoughts.
All right. All right. Samuel, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but we do hear you. There is, though, quite a lot that still needs to be ironed out, especially when you look at some of these issues of gross incapacitation, as you put them, and even around this issue of the permits, because there's quite a lot that is unfolding there. But let's leave it there for now. That was Samuel Chasi, President of People's Patriotic Party.